G'day and welcome to the MacPack.
We're back.
My name is Jake McKenna, and to my left this week in order, the man on the panel who has most recently returned from Doubt. That's my little brother Joe. How are you, Joe boy?
Yes, I'm in doubt that I am back. I'm back in the big smoke and I'm ready to pod.
Love it. And to my right, coming in at 6'1", as he does each and every week, it's the baby brother of the pack who we call Junior Boy. Junior Boy, how are you, mate?
Boys, I'm talking bugs. Something has been annoying me this week, and I need to tell you guys
Something's
all
been
about it.
bugging you?
Yes!
Nice.
Good stuff. We're chatting about your latest trip, Joey.
Yes.
The Doubt trip.
Doubt.
There's a bit of folklore
Oh.
he's going to share with us. He always does like learnings when he goes away.
I love it.
We've got a bit of Judge Joey making its debut tonight. Riley, you've got an everyday hero. And I've got a quick around the ground.
Here we
A few
go.
things we've talked about over the last few weeks
Nice.
have come back into fruition. And it's time we unpack them. It's a massive ep. Let's get into it. Boys.
Brother Mingos.
How are we all? Are we all well?
Fantastic. Feeling fresh being back from doubt.
Welcome home, Joe.
Welcome
Yes,
home,
I've
Joey.
come home. The return.
The return of the king.
Yes, I went down to Nannup.
Nannup.
Down Nannup ways.
How does the Bellina go on Nannup Road?
It does.
First trip with the Belline?
Nah.
No. Last year when I went in September, I went on a big road trip in the Bellino.
Yeah, remember?
Down
All
to
the-
Denmark.
And Joe refused to wash the red dirt off it.
Oh,
for the
that's
whole of summer.
right. It
So
was
now it's-
incognito mode.
So now it's soaked into the pain.
Yeah. How does the Bellina go? Because it's, for those playing along at home, a Bellino. Is it Bellina or
Yeah,
Bellino?
Bellino. It's
Suzuki
a manly
Bellino.
car. It ends with an O.
I don't think it does.
Bellina.
I think it's a Bellina,
I
isn't
love
it?
it. No, it's a Bellino.
It's a little car. Imagine like a i20.
Toy. Okay,
A
yeah,
Hy-
i20.
a Hyundai i20, like pretty small car.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Especially to be taking like on some of the hectic roads throughout the Nullarbor of WA.
The Bellino will go anywhere.
Yeah. It's not about the size, it's about how you drive it. And I drive it well and safely. That's right.
Nice, dude.
No crashes. I almost hit a kangaroo.
It would kill the Bellino.
It would kill me.
It would kill most cars, I think, a kanga.
Yeah.
But the Bellino in particular. Most kangaroos are bigger than the Bellino.
But it might be able to jump over the Bellino. Maybe the
Yeah,
Bellino
true, yeah.
has a advantage.
The
in this
Bellino's so small it could probably go like in
Through the-
between its pouch. Like just
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I had parked it in the pouch. But yeah, I was driving. It was twilight. It was dusk,
Okay.
dare I say.
Dusking.
And I saw 3 kangaroos like on the road.
And you sped up.
they were standing.
Standing, yeah.
Nice. Rare.
Jumping past. It was pretty scary. I'd never seen them on the road before. Normally they're having a little nap.
Like I've seen them on the road, but I've never seen them. That's why I checked.
Yeah.
They're not normally vertical.
Yeah. When I went to Geraldton over the summer, like when you're in the middle of like nowhere driving, and they're like they've been hit, obviously probably a couple months ago, and like the decomposing of them all, like sometimes they'd have the top half of the body would be skeleton and the bottom half is still there.
Yeah, a bit of anatomy lessons of
Yeah.
the old kangas.
Oh, wow.
It's a bit like that shot of Gus Fring in Breaking Bad.
Yeah,
You got
yeah.
half that's still fine, and the other half is
Skiffy.
Yeah,
It's cut into 2. We also saw emus.
right.
Yeah, emus. I feel like emus are... Kangaroos you see all the time. See them at golf and stuff.
Yep.
But emus are a lot rarer.
Yeah.
And we saw ones out. We sort of had like balcony looking onto a bit of nature.
Oh.
And we saw 2 emus running around.
Very nice.
Nice.
Very nice.
They
And-
terrify me more than
Yeah.
kangaroos scare me,
You guys know about the
and
great...
emu would shit me.
You know about the Great Emu War?
Yes, I do.
Does Jake know about the Great Emu War?
No,
You never heard?
no.
Do you want to get into it?
Well, I vaguely know the story. I know they're coming out with a movie about it.
Oh, actual.
Yeah, there's like a actual like TV movie coming out about it. I heard it on radio a couple weeks ago. They were promoting it, but Australia went to war with emus.
Yep, war on emus. This was
When was this? 1900?
ages. Yeah, 19, potentially 1800, like back in the day.
Yeah, and it was back when we didn't used to have automatic firearms. They were
Okay,
like
shotguns.
or like
Yeah.
Kar 98s. You had to like reload and clock every time.
Yeah.
So when we were on the firing arms trying to shoot, there was like thousands of emus that were like running.
Yeah, they were
toward-
trying to. I think the emus were potentially causing chaos to the crops or something, and there was too many of them, and they were like, "We need to sort out these birds."
So we sent the military to take them all out, and then because we didn't have automatic firearms at the time, the emus won.
Yeah, the emus won.
And Australia lost the war against the emus. It's like a big story.
Like soldiers died at the hands.
I don't know if anyone died.
Because like usually if you lose a war, there's casualties. Like
Yeah, I don't think anyone died, but definitely stuffed up crops or farms or something.
Yeah.
I'm not 100%.
yeah, it doesn't sound
story.
like you are. Maybe
But
do some
all I
research and
know-
bring it back.
All I know is that Australia lost the war against the emus.
And as a result, we had to put them on the.
Yeah, we put them
Coat
on the
of
coat of
arms.
Yeah,
arms.
this is their country.
Initially we had a man, and then we went, no, emus are tougher than them. Chuck
Yeah.
one of them up.
I'm glad we've been talking about the wildlife because wildlife is a big thing about going south, and they have a very special tiger
Ooh.
that lives in Nannup.
Do we have
It's called-
tigers?
It's called the Nannup Tiger. Its scientific name is the thylacine,
Oh.
also known as the Tasmanian tiger.
Oh.
And it lived in Tasmania after it went extinct thousands of years ago.
Okay.
It went extinct on the mainland thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
They died in the wild in the 1930s in Tasmania, and the last one died in the Tasmanian Zoo in the 1980s.
Yeah.
But the locals of Nannup claim to see the Nannup Tiger, which is a thylacine, or
Okay.
potentially a pack of them. And there's like, you go in and there's like statues of these tigers around.
Okay.
They look more like, it's more like a little dingo kind of thing.
Yeah.
Not like a,
Yeah, not a big
not like
animal.
Life of Pi.
Okay. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And I love a bit. It's kind of like Bigfoot kind of situation where like the locals will say they've seen it and they've seen the footprints and stuff, and there's like a museum thing for it
Yeah.
and statues and all this like shit about it. Like a lot of shirt, like
Brochures,
shirts,
yeah.
Are
mugs.
they selling merch
Tours.
about this thing that may or may
Yeah.
not exist?
There probably is a tour. Like
There
to
is, yeah.
Search for
You
it.
can go on the Nannup Tiger Walk. Like, it's all this stuff, and I was like, oh, they're like.
They've lost it.
Yeah, these guys are nuts, man. I was like, oh, they must be like sort of pulling your leg kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, it would be cool if it was real, but nowadays it's just kind of like, if it was real, surely like
There's a photo. of it,
scientists would have found, photo, like no photos, like there's a lot of cameras. And I was like, oh, it's probably just like a folklore thing that they, whatever, talk about. And then one of the things we did when we were down there, we went to pick chestnuts at this chestnut farm.
Yeah, chestnuts roasting on an open
Yeah.
fire. Jack Frost nibbling at your nose.
And after we did that, as we were like leaving and talking to the lady who like runs the chestnut farm,
Yes.
we were like, oh yeah, like really cool. Like now, like we didn't really heard much about it. And then like this tiger stuff we really thought was cool.
Yeah.
And then I was like, have you seen it? So she's been farming there for about like 10 years now.
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, once I've seen it. And she was
But
like,
she legally has to say that as a resident
no,
of
but,
Nannup.
but like the way she told it, she was like, yeah, it was like, it was like early morning, and I went like she had this whole story about it, and then she's like, yeah, and I like looked up on the hill, and I saw this. I would call it a creature, like I saw it, and then she's like, but it was a chocolate brown, which I thought
Yeah.
the Nannup Tiger isn't chocolate brown, so I just thought, who knows what it was, didn't think anything about it, and then she was like, but then like a few, like I don't know if she said years or months later, but then she said there was like an expert came to like do a talk
Yeah.
in the town about it, and he was saying that there are different families of it,
Oh.
and one of the families is chocolate brown.
Wow.
So then she was like, so I have seen it, and then
So retroactively, she has
was
seen
like,
it.
it must have been. And then she also talked about, she was like,
How big is it in comparison to a dingo?
I'm not sure because it's make believe. But then, because she had cows and sheep and all this kind of stuff, so I was like, well, if they're around, like, are things
yeah.
going missing?
Yeah.
And she was like,
what are they eating?
she was like, all farmers around here, like all farmers that have been here for a while, they've all seen it.
Oh.
And then she said there was one time when my like grandkids were coming up to visit,
Here we go.
and
And 3 came.
they're like,
and
and
only
when,
2 went home.
they're like, and when we were driving, we'd like picked them up from whatever, or maybe they were in town and they came back,
Yeah, yeah.
and they were like, well, when we were going to town, there was a big kangaroo, like a like the boom, like a massive one,
6'5".
dead on the side of the road.
Oh,
She said
nice.
this thing was like massive.
And this Bellina just wrapped around.
Yeah. And then, she was like, and then we came back and it was gone. And we were like,
Oh, fuck off.
we were like, no, and then she said that, she was like, yeah, it had been dragged into the bush. They found it had been dragged into the bush and it had been eaten, its like brain and also like its heart and stuff had been eaten. And she was like, so I think it was the Nannup Tiger. But she just told it in a way where I'm like, this isn't
I have
the
to
vibe
believe
of
it.
someone who's like, oh, this is fucking hilarious. These tourists will believe it. She was like, because even she was a little bit like,
Yeah.
didn't really want to talk about it. And then we were like, oh, like really interested.
Yeah.
But she was obviously like, I don't want these like city folk to like make fun of me. I'll say that for the pod. But yeah, I was like, afterwards, I was like,
Ooh.
geez, I reckon it's real.
It's like that scene in Fantastic Mr. Fox where they're looking up on the hill at the other fox, right?
The wolf.
The wolf. Yeah. Yeah.
Canis, lupus, lupus.
Yeah.
We might have to do an inquest ourselves.
I reckon we should. We'll do a tour. First one to find it and kill it.
What's been bugging you, Junior boy?
Boys, something has been bugging me. And it's a question I'm going to ask you guys. And I feel like Joe might be able to help me with this one.
Oh, it's an intellectual question.
I've solved the issue
Oh, okay.
at hand. But, Joey, you can help me out here with your expertise in the field.
Okay.
That's right.
Even
No
though we,
idea
sol-
what
we
it is.
solved it. 2 + 2.
Yeah, I'm going to say my idea. He's going to say, wrong.
Joe might be better at articulating the scientific
Here's some
reasons
big
behind
text.
it. Here we go. Oh, yeah. We've got a script
Whoa.
here, boys.
Oh, it's peer reviewed.
It was a question that came up among me and my friends recently, and I thought this is good
It's
enough to
peer-reviewed.
investigate. It is peer reviewed. Boys, I want to know why an ant can fall off a table and survive, but if I fell off something that was human to scale,
Yeah.
Good.
like a building, I would die.
Ooh.
Let's try it. All right, I'll grab the ant.
Yeah.
Any hypotheses, Jake?
I'm going weight of mass. I'm considering weight of mass in this. The ant is
How
light.
so?
The ant is light in nature, like it's quite light.
Don't solve it yet, Joe.
So don't be an ass, because this is when Joey gets his fucking.
Joe gets his cock out, goes like this on the table.
Once his nose starts flaring up, you know it's over. And the ant falls off the table. Minimalistic impact.
Okay, so
Okay, but can I just ask Jake a bit about that?
don't solve the issue.
No, I won't solve it. So that's your idea, right? But what if, like, let's say like a baby, for example.
Yeah.
A baby weighs less than a human.
Yeah. I've seen
Well,
them fall off
babies
table.
are human, apparently.
I've seen a baby fall off a table.
And they're pretty worse for wear.
Oh, for a moment.
And for the next couple of years.
They're fine.
Yes.
Some of my best mates fell off tables.
Some learning
That explains
difficulties.
it.
Yes.
That's about it. So, boys, from scale. So, I've got a couple of things that we're going to talk about here. First is scale. Humans are roughly 360 times bigger than ants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, say if an ant fell off a 1 meter table, it would be the equivalent to a human falling off a 360 meter high building, which is equivalent
Well, that'd hurt.
to a 100-story skyscraper.
Again, I think we should trial this before we.
I've jumped off one of them before and I was pretty chill.
Next up, we've got velocity.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is where Joe comes into play. Because ants are so tiny, they don't hit terminal velocity like humans do, and the air actually slows them down.
Right.
So for us, past a certain point, we're in free fall and we hit terminal velocity, which is around 200 kilometers per hour
So-
for a human.
Terminal velocity is the max speed that you can go.
Anyone or anything can go.
When falling, I believe. Because
Okay.
at that point, the force of gravity, which is like, 9.8 meters, that's how fast you accelerate to the ground.
Yeah.
At that point, it's equal to the amount of
Pressure.
air resistance you're
Okay,
getting.
yeah.
So it cancels out and you stay at that speed.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. So let's say if a rocket was flying toward the ground with its engines on, it would go faster. But if it had no engines, it would hit that max velocity as well.
Yeah.
Or its own max velocity, or would it hit 200 kilometers per
So
hour?
everything has its own terminal
Okay,
velocity.
there you go. So for a human, it's around 200 kilometers per hour, which is pretty quick.
Yeah.
Which is about how
That's with a Bellino.
how fast Joe is traveling when he hit that kangaroo.
Yeah.
So when an ant hits the ground, they're only traveling at 3 to 4 kilometers per hour. So for them, it's like stepping off a curb. But for humans, our entire body will just splatter.
Okay. Right. I'm sort of keeping up.
Interesting, hey?
Yeah. So if you drop an ant off the roof.
Wait. That's what I'm about to get into.
Yeah.
So I said, what if an ant, if that's the case, if an ant's terminal velocity is so small at 3 to 4 kilometers per hour, what if me and an ant both jumped off the skyscraper together?
That's romantic.
Would we die? Apparently the ant, because of no matter how high it is, still wouldn't go past its terminal velocity, which is 3 to 4 kilometers per hour.
So you'd beat him down.
So while the human body would obliterate, the ant would walk away scot-free. It's like dropping a feather. The feather won't splat. It will simply glide down.
Yeah.
Wow, hey, I was
That is-
fucking
I
mind
should
blown.
take an ant up to the top of the bell tower.
Actually, though, like imagine the ant just feeling like, holy fuck.
And it would, also, it would take ages.
Yeah. It's like a solid
Whoa.
4 days.
Jeez, I'm still going.
How fast do they go?
3 to 4 kilometers per hour.
That's fucked slow.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like walking
How
speed
fast
for
do
a
they
human.
walk?
Oh, that's a good question. Let's find out. But yeah, I was like, this is crazy. It's like an ant could be falling for like 5 minutes and hit the
Okay.
deck and be like, sweet as. No issues here.
Here's my question. Why do you always see them walking up and down the wall? Why don't they just jump?
That is it.
Because it would take too
point.
long. Because they would...
Oh, no.
Because they're quicker.
It'd be quicker to walk.
You know, you see the big line of them.
Yeah.
Just jump, buddy. Just do it.
Yeah, just fucking jump. Apparently, yeah, I also read something
But,
about.
Oh, you mean jump off the wall?
Yeah, instead of walking down, yeah.
Do they know this? If you're listening, and community, if you're listening,
Did they know that?
thank us later. Share this episode with your favorite ant.
They know.
Maybe they don't know this until now.
I don't think they do.
I don't think anyone's spoken to them in such a nurturing way.
An ant's walking pace is around 300 to 400 meters per hour.
Oh, so they were like,
That's dog
to them,
shit
they're
slow.
flying.
Yeah, yeah. So if they dropped from a 100-meter skyscraper, yeah, it would take a while. Hey,
We should definitely give it a crack, though. Like, just for
but how would you
science.
track
Put
it?
a GoPro on them.
Then it would be
Go for it.
fucked.
I always think about
How would you know? I guess you have to do it when the day there's no wind, so he's getting a perfect.
Trajectory.
yeah.
But even like from a 2-story house, would that be far enough?
Yeah, imagine trying to find it though. You would need to
Yeah.
drop it on like a really
White
white
piece of-
paper,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
giant piece of paper.
Surely, this is what we should be investing our time into.
I always think about when
Here's a question. I wonder what it would sound like to the ant. Would it sound like a big,
yeah.
or would it just be like a
But on the way down,
no when they hit the ground? Because obviously it would make a really loud noise if a human hit the ground and splattered. But with the
but
ant,
he's
just
not
be
going to
like,
splat, is he?
Yeah, I know. Like I'm just like, does it make a noise?
It
Does
is
go,
interesting
"Oh."
because say if we were tiny, right?
Yeah.
Like, and there was a big noise. Like, if you yelled at an ant,
Yeah.
That would
do they
be-
have ears?
How does it not go deaf?
Yeah, because if we were tiny and we were all talking, we'd
Yeah.
be talking really quietly, right?
Yeah.
And then if there was a giant ass that yelled at us, it would be so loud.
Yeah. Even
So
like
ants-
footsteps and stuff. I'm like, when I'm like walking past them, I'm like, is this like rocking their world? Are they like the massive crisis of
Yeah.
2025? The giant that
The
walk by?
giant, yeah.
You know when you're a kid and you like get the hose out and you just like go full power on the little caves that they make?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Like, is that like a big
You pull them out
It's
and
a
do it now.
tsunami.
Yeah,
for
is that
us.
like World War II for them? Like, is that like
Yeah.
a massive history thing where they teach generations, like, and then on this one fateful day,
Yeah.
Where's
this like godlike figure got a hose out. Holman was the brand,
What I
and they just
the
went,
Holman hose pipe of 2022. What I don't so there's moments where you see so many ants.
Yeah.
When was the last time you saw an ant?
in my fucking bathroom.
Ant.
When was the last time you saw an ant?
I can't remember, yeah. Yeah, like not that long ago, but I don't remember. Like,
I feel like I have not seen an ant in.
Where have they gone?
we had ants
Yeah.
in our bathroom that there was a bit of
Are you saying that they're gone? Jack?
chemical warfare.
Well, there definitely seems like there's
There's a bit of-
seems like there's less now than there was when I grew up.
No,
And
but
where do they go?
You're
'Cause-
taller. You're not on the ground as much. That's why. Because when you're a kid, you were probably on the ground.
No,
a
he's
lot.
in his ivory tower on his second story.
Yeah, true.
Just flicking them off the roof.
No, we have ants.
Alrighty, boys. This is a bit of a new one. We're going to call it Judge Joey. And basically what's going to take place is, we were fortunate enough a couple of weeks ago now to do a little bit of work, as we have done in the past, for our good friends at Dominos.
Oh,
Yes.
the best pizzas I've ever tasted, to be honest.
And on this occasion, we were lucky enough to be asked to don the kit,
Yep.
Suiting up.
which it always makes
Which
me
is-
very excited because as a young boy,
Oh.
all I ever wanted to be was a pizza delivery guy. And this week, I got to live out my exact dream. Hilariously enough, before we'd even been given the brief,
Yeah.
Okay.
before we'd been given the brief, I was saying to Mum at dinner, I've always wanted to be a pizza delivery guy. 3 days later, Domino's. You're up. You're our pizza delivery boy.
Hell yeah.
But in doing so, we had to go and pick up the costume, the uniform.
yeah. Uniform for them, costume for
us.
us.
And so what I want to talk about here is because you weren't there at the time. It was a
No.
me and Riley reconnaissance mission to go and get the uniform and get a few pizzas as part of the shoot, right?
Yep. Which is always fun to walk in and say, hey, we're just here to pick up our pizzas. And your uniform.
Yeah. And have a gun.
I'll take the one you're wearing, thanks.
And just empty those tills. All right, we might as well do the whole thing. But
Loads off, pizza boy.
an interaction took place that I very much led.
Okay.
And then I was left to feel like a bit of an idiot on the way home
Yeah.
as a different perspective
My
was
turn.
offered to me
Oh.
The third person.
from our little brother Mingo.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm going to do today as part of Judge Joey is that I want to run you through exactly what took place from my perspective. And Riley, you can jump in at the same time.
Or should I tell mine separate?
I think
should
we
I
should-
leave their own?
No, I think
like
we
rush
should.
them on.
I think we should both tell the tale.
Okay.
Do you want to go one for one, or can we just go one and then you can just get in? We'll tell it together.
Let's tell it together.
Let's tell it together, and then you can decide.
What the appropriate response is?
Yeah.
Jake will tell you his side and I'll balance out the curve.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we walk into the pizza shop,
Yeah.
and as Riley said, we've got an order for Jake. These are the pizzas we got,
Yeah.
and we also need to pick up the gear.
He's
right?
already forgetting.
The gear.
He's already forgetting details. He's completely no.
But as part of that, the guy who we were chatting to has already called ahead and has
Yeah.
spoken to the manager.
Yeah.
And has alerted them that we're coming
Yeah.
because you don't want 4 people who rock up and say, "Yeah, we need a kit," and then
Yeah.
you all of a sudden you don't have any pizza boys left. So we're there, and we've run him through that.
Yep.
Okay.
He then says, because it's quite busy, our name's still on the thing, 7 minutes to wait.
Yeah.
No worries. So he hands us the costume at this point. Hands us the uniform.
And then he also says, and I'll get them to hurry up with the pizzas.
Yes, which
Well,
fantastic.
That wasn't verbatim what he said, but he did say he was like, I'll get
them
Yeah,
too.
I'll quicken this up for you.
which I thought was
Okay.
like really nice, but also
I felt bad because it seemed as if like we weren't customers almost, like as if we were client. That's what it felt like.
Okay.
And
Yes.
we kind of felt like, oh no,
we said no stress. So it was
Yeah,
halftime of the footy. We weren't
Yeah.
in that much of a rush. We were like, no worries, man.
Yeah,
we were
like,
also
don't-
getting
don't
free
rush.
dinner. So like,
Yeah.
take as long as you need.
don't rush for us.
We're one of, I don't know if you've noticed the hat and the shirt that I'm about to put on, but we're one of you now.
Yeah, we're a
I
team.
apologize.
That's it.
And
We're
the second part of
co-workers.
that, really nice of him to say, yeah, we'll get a move on.
Yeah,
but secondly,
how?
it said it was in the oven. So like, unless he,
Yeah, we're not cooking them.
like,
Turn the degree out.
if you can make it quicker, surely Domino's is like, always do that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, speed run them.
Yeah, always do the fastest way possible.
Yeah, yeah.
If you have an ability to push pizzas out in 2 minutes, do that all
Yeah.
the time. Anyway, we go and wait outside the store because it's quite a small shop.
Yep.
We're out there for 5 minutes. And then we notice that he's ready. He's got the pizzas and he starts making his way out. Bit of an awkward interaction at the door
Yep.
with the other guy who like sort of went didn't
Because
go.
it was because of the size of the small, you'd think it'd be a pool door to create that extra
yeah.
Yeah.
1 meter square,
Yeah.
1 square meter.
It's
of
like a whole
pusher.
another room.
But no, it's a pusher. So you do take away that 1 square meter.
So when he pulls the thing back to him, he's almost like now up against the bench.
Yeah.
Like
His
he's-
bum is on the till.
Yeah,
It's like-
his ass is in the oven.
And then he came out and provided us with the pizza. We had all the uniform.
yeah.
And I said, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. And then I said, because he was very courteous and he
Yeah.
talked to us about someone who'd been spoken to beforehand. And then I said, are you the manager?
Yeah.
And then he said, oh, no. Would you like a drink? And I said, no. We don't need a drink or anything. I just wanted to know if you're the manager.
Yeah, he was-
Yeah.
And then he said no. And then he said his name, which I won't say, not because I've forgotten, but because I don't want to
Yeah.
put him out. And then I said, oh, fantastic. You're a good man. Thank you so much.
And then I said, we'll bring these uniforms back to this store once we finish using them.
Yep. And we will tonight.
It's sitting over behind the camera.
And then we walked off because he was quite apologetic about the time
Yeah.
and the time it took. But again, it said 7 minutes.
And Jake was
so it
walking
takes
off
7
like
minutes.
this. Just
Really?
like, no worries in the world. Just like,
He was whistling the glove shot.
well, you know that guy, what's that
The
Oh,
advertisement?
the Delta guy.
Yeah, what's that? ad?
Do, 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 do.
No, that's not it.
No.
It's not.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Whistle
Oh,
game.
what is
We're doing
it?
whistle game.
Yeah, that.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Mumbo Number.
Anyway,
Do,
it's
do, do.
What
just
song is
small
it?
sidetrack. Taylor, we were away this weekend. That ad
Yeah.
come on the TV. She goes, this guy reminds me so much of you.
And this is
Because you whistle constantly.
that seemed to be what she went with.
just walking
And
around.
also, he was just walking around like
Yeah.
without a fucking care in
Worried.
his mind or a thought in his brain.
And
I
that's
think
what
more
this is
accurate.
how Jake was walking back to the car after he got the piece. He's just like,
I thought nothing of it. I was like, yeah, beauty. Got pizza. The pies game's on. I've got a beer ready to go. We're laughing, right?
yeah.
And then Riley said, well, that was pretty fucking rude, man. And I was like, what do you mean?
I was like, he was definitely taken aback when you asked for the manager.
And I said, I didn't ask for the manager. I asked, are you the manager? And then Riley goes, yeah. And then he freaked out and offered you a drink. And I said, yeah, but I just thought he was like being courteous because we're like employees now.
Yeah.
And Riley goes, no, it's because he thinks that you're complaining it took so long.
Yeah.
And I said, that was not at all. Couldn't have been further from my mindset.
But
How did he ask, Riley?
How did Jake ask?
Yeah,
He
the
said-
manager.
No, you just said, oh, are you the manager? And then he was like, oh, I don't know, the manager's not here. Can I get you a drink? And he like said it like really flustered.
Oh.
He's like, can I get you a drink?
And I
then
immediately went into like panic mode because I was like,
And we were like, no. Like,
yeah,
it's not the...
no, just $100 out of the two, we'll be fine. And I was like, no, not at all. No, it's all good. And then I said, what is your name?
And what's
Because,
your
like,
manager's email?
Yeah, because I'm.
Oh yeah, but I think the bit when I asked his name, that on
was also,
reflection
like-
made me feel worse because then it's like, that's all good. What was your name? And then I'll write it down and complain about
Yeah.
it. But that's again not at all. It's very local to my house. I just thought it'd be nice to know
The pizza
No.
guy's
his
name.
name. He knows my name. It's on the fucking wall.
Yeah.
But so I wanted to introduce myself. He didn't have a name badge on
Yeah.
because fuck, he might have been generally managers don't wear the name badge.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I felt like a bit of a deal, but couldn't have.
I think it's also like.
Like, it didn't mean any harm, but the guy definitely was like,
Yeah.
oh shit. Like, I pissed
This-
off client.
This
Yeah, that's. But I didn't think that at the time because he hadn't.
this big shot comes in, gets the free pizza, takes my clothes, and then because I was not a manager, I'm just a lowly pizza employee. I'm not good enough to talk to it.
So who do you think? What side of the story do you believe is probably the closest to the truth? And then maybe closest to what he walked away from the situation. Because walking away from the situation, I went, lovely guy, what a night. Riley went, that guy thinks you're a fuckwit. And I want to know, is Riley right?
I think. Are you the manager?
No, you said like...
It's not what you wanna hear.
You did say that.
But like,
Every time
It
I've
is
been
if you
asked
are
for
the
the
ma-
every time
Yeah.
I've been asked for the manager in all my jobs, it's usually when something bad's happened.
Yeah.
but I also meant it in, like, he was obviously the most
Professional, yeah, and the
organised
leader,
person
yeah,
there.
yeah.
And like, we walked in and he didn't go, oh,
He
I'll go
knew.
get someone else to speak to
Yeah.
and bring out some 14-year-old kid.
Yeah,
he
he knew
went,
all about it.
no worries. I've got the shit out the back.
Yeah.
Here it is. I'll hurry those pizzas up. And I'm like, this guy knows how to fucking manage a situation.
yeah. I even think
I should have walked away and said, you're not the manager? You should be the fucking manager.
That's
the follow-up.
move, yeah.
Hopefully
I'll go back tonight. I'll tell him.
Yeah,
by
you
the
should
way,
be the manager. Where's my drink?
fair amount of whistling in the break, trying to work out what the song is. What did you find? There we go. Song sleuth. Islands in the Stream is what we've worked out the Telstra song is.
That old chestnut.
Scratched an itch, didn't it,
Maybe
boys?
a few people listening going, what the fuck are they talking about? And a few people going,
Nice.
thank you. Thank you. I was trying to Shazam your shit whistling, but none of you got it. Where are we heading now? Oh, it's our favourite bloody weekly segment.
Yeah, baby.
It's our only weekly segment. It's time for our Every day hero.
Lucky enough to celebrate my girlfriend's 22nd birthday last week, boys.
Yeah. Woo!
22.
That's what we're talking about.
Fire up, all right. And it was during that public holiday period where lots of people were taking the extra time off.
Yes.
We did that.
And Joe went down. You think you went down and back up and then back down for a little bit?
Yeah, I
Joe?
was just doing convoy trips, man. I was like an Uber driver.
And I was celebrating the birthday.
You did no work. You got paid to do no work, didn't you? That was your game.
No, of course I did work on the days that I was rostered. Just not the day that I took off, which was her birthday.
Oh,
So
cool. So you just take one day.
yeah.
Lovely.
It was a nice day. Beautiful April weather. The sun was shining, boys. Went down to the beach. And there's a common tradition that Olivia gets on her birthday, which I noticed she hadn't received yet. She loves the pink Krispy Kreme donuts from Krispy Kreme, the ones that look like
The Homer Simpson.
Simpsons ones.
yeah,
Yes.
those ones, right? And like previously, I always like given them to her on birthday, but we had cake the night before, and I noticed there was no donuts in question. So we're driving down.
Are you telling me Mark has dropped the ball?
No, they got this beautiful mud cake. Oh, it's gorgeous.
Okay.
But
Olivia's she can't have normal cake. Have I made that
oh
up?
no, she
punches
on
on?
exception.
Is it
She
celiac?
can.
Gluten-free is
Gluten.
different from
Okay.
celiac.
Yeah.
Play on.
Gluten intolerant. I'm
Yeah.
not too sure.
Yeah. Just be open-minded, people.
Come on, guys, switch on. Anyway, so driving down Leach Highway, boys.
Okay.
Yeah, South Street sister.
Nearly South Street.
Yeah, sister to South Street. And what does Leach Highway have which South Street doesn't? A KK, boys.
Oh,
Krispy
Ooh,
Kreme.
I just stopped.
Good. 2 is the right amount.
And we were driving down and I saw the big sign, KK.
Cream.
And I thought, I was like, you feeling donuts? I was like, we could get you a donut right now. And she was like, she's like, yeah, okay. And I was like, let's bloody do it. I've made the choice. So I drove into the car park.
Took your big hat off. Man, that was just next door, actually. Yeah.
And then, what were you going to say?
Just something about the Grand Wizard.
You're a wizard, Harry. Anyway, and then so I went through the drive-through and I was like tossing up. I was like, do I want a donut? Because I'm not a massive donut guy. Are you guys massive donut guys?
I love a cinnamon donut.
Oh, really?
Or cinnamon.
Nah, I love a cinnamon.
I like donuts.
Enough.
So that was the question.
It was the question.
I like it.
And the
And
I
I
pod.
wouldn't go
answer.
out of my way to get one.
What
But
if you were going down south on Leach
if
Highway?
I was in the driveway at Krispy Kreme, I'd probably get one. Yeah.
Anyway.
You guys got anything else?
And then
Yeah.
I looked at the board and I was like, looking at the price and stuff. So I was like, I don't go here ever, only on the 22nd of April, her birthday.
Insane that there's a drive-through donut shop.
Yeah, I know, right? 2020.
No,
When
no.
they first come out, packed. Day after, not
No.
as packed.
You just don't need to still be in your car.
Yeah, I reckon there was one bloke working there and he was making the donuts and doing the
Eating-
front till and the and the drive
There
through.
you go. Was he the manager? Did you?
Anyway, so then I pulled up and then I looked at the board and they have like a dozen for this much, 2 dozen for this much. They're selling the big ones. They're not selling single donuts often.
Too many donut, just one.
And then I was like, I could get like half a dozen for $15 or something.
I could get 1,000
240, yeah.
Get 1,000 donuts for $60.
That was what it's for the next couple of years. Like, throw them in the old freezer. And then I was like, he was like, hey, what can I get you? And I was like,
What do you reckon?
Yes.
I was like, I haven't decided yet. And then he was like, oh, good.
We sell donuts.
And then I was like, how many do you want to Olivia? I was like, do you want a couple? Are you going to have some like tonight? Maybe give one to your mum, da-da-da. She's like, no, just the one. And I was like, oh,
Okay.
well. And then I was like, how much are your donuts? And he was like, different per donut.
This is good. I'm glad there's not a line
It's like
for
going
it.
into Macca's like, so how much is the food?
And he was like, he said different per donut. And I was like, yeah, fair enough, actually.
But how? Aren't they all practically the same?
No, because some of them are
But
more
that's
like...
equivalent to going into Baskin Robbins and they're like one scoop and they're like, yeah, $5 for this ice cream, but if you get this flavor ice cream, it's a bit different.
No, because the basic ones are like
Easy to make.
just one donut thing. The other ones are like more, they're like cakes. They have like cream filling. and they have icing.
on the inside. How do they
Yeah,
get
how
it
do they
in
get the
there?
jam in there?
Anyway,
Do it.
and then And then I was like, oh, yeah, fair enough then. And then I was like,
Don't bother.
and then Olivia was like, oh, get yourself. She was like, are you going to go? And I was like, oh, maybe. I was like, I only like the original glaze though. And we're just having this convo at the drive-thru. Like, no one's in the shop. It's just very chill.
Yeah.
And he's there.
And he's just there like listening in. And then I was like, how much is a pink one? And he was like, $4.50.
Depends.
And
Do you want to
How
eat?
pink?
I took a bite out of this one. Do you want that?
he was like, $4.50. And I was like, yeah, we'll just get one of them. Thanks. And he's like, no worries, $4.50, drive through.
That seems a lot.
Yeah, for one. But that's what they do. One is expensive.
Yeah.
You get 20 for $6.
Yeah.
And then we
Yeah,
pulled,
we're going to have 20 for 4.
and then we pulled around the corner and I tapped. He was like, $4.50. Put the FPOS machine out, tapped, no worries. Then he ran off, grabbed the donuts, just in a little bag.
Donuts. Hang on.
And he came back and said, here you go. I've thrown in an extra original glaze for you.
Oh,
And I was like, oh.
what
I was
a
like, I was
guy.
like, thanks so much. And then he was like, no worries, man. And then we drove off. And I was like, to him, what the dialogue sounded like without him looking at me
So
was
you
me
only had
saying,
$4.60.
how much does a donut cost? Should I get 2 donuts? No, I'll just get one because it's $4.50. So he probably would have thought like, oh, he doesn't want to spend too much on donuts. So I'll just give him one because we've got 400 here.
These are going in the bin.
Yeah, he's going in the bin.
This
in
is
3
actually from the
hours.
bin. If he doesn't need to know that.
I scooped this one out of yesterday's trash.
And then he was like, yeah, here's the second donut. Like, cost price of this is probably 40 cents or whatever.
Yeah, the conversation we had cost more than this donut.
And
Yeah,
then
but fuel running while you're in the car.
yeah. And then he gave me the extra donut. I was like, oh, thank you so much. And then it was just like a really nice birthday treat. And I ended up giving it to Olivia's dad, who was at work all day.
Oh, you didn't even have it?
Nah.
Heroes beget heroes. I like it. And then Olivia's dad gave it to someone else.
Yeah.
This donut is getting old and gross.
Yeah. Still traveling to this day.
But I was like, it's just such
It's
an
going to return back to him.
Yeah.
obviously working in
And
like
then he eats it and dies.
retail and just all those kind of jobs. Yeah, there's tiny things that big decisions to customers, but really just mean nothing to the business. So just give the customer what they need.
Massive. We love it. This week's Everyday Hero is going to the Krispy Kreme King for looking after Junior Boy by throwing in a handy extra donut. Alrighty, boys, that just about brings us to the end of another episode of the podcast. Before we finish up, as I mentioned off the top, quick little around the grounds. I don't know if you boys have seen, there is we have never spoken about the election, and we probably never will speak about the election. It's not really our thing. But
Yep.
something that came across my desk in the last 24 hours was
You're running.
a
You're running.
what about it?
Yeah.
The MacPack party.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm up. Yeah, I'm up for it.
Let's go.
Vote one. No, what happened was, I don't think it was on Sunrise, but it is the lady who is from Sunrise and a guy, I think as part of they do a little bit of chitter chatter. The two people going at it. What are the names?
The debate.
Dutton and Albanese.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did a bit of a debate, yes. And one of the questions that they asked was around the cost of living crisis that is taking place.
I'm familiar.
And it reminded me of a great game we play here called How Much Did I Pay? Now, I'm not saying they've ripped us off because there's been a few iterations of our game, such as Cost is Correct. And I think Larry Emden might have run one a few years ago,
Who
something
knows?
about
I
the
don't
price
remember
being
that. No.
nearly almost not incorrect.
I don't remember.
The prize being left.
But what thought I'd play with you really, really quickly is because we had both Dutton and Albanese have a crack at this very game.
Nice.
What I want to ask you boys is
get 'em
how,
on.
how
Their
much
final
Yeah.
debate.
we'll just play Cost is Correct with it. How much would a 12-pack carton go for it?
I was going to say, what if they did one like, you know, like how obviously your opinion is swayed by who's talking. So maybe they could take a little hint from the Masked Singer and they could do the masked debate.
That's not bad, actually. That's actually
Mainly,
not
I
a
just want
bad.
to say the name.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, the masked debate.
Do you reckon you would? It took a long time for us to
Yeah,
get
well.
that.
Yeah, I had to say it twice.
The mask debate. That would be a different show altogether, but equally as entertaining. So Cost is correct. We're playing. It's Joe Junior versus Dutton and Albanese.
Wow, eh?
We've got 12 eggs from. They've given the prices from both Woolworths and Coles. I'll take a ballpark figure. Let's go. It doesn't really matter. Let's go the Woolworths price. How much would 12 eggs?
Like real eggs or chocolate eggs?
No, chicken ones. The the ones that come out at chicken time.
Okay.
Not
How much
Easter
does it?
time.
I've never bought eggs. I don't like eggs. Joe buys eggs all the time.
No, I'm off eggs. I haven't eaten eggs all year.
Oh, really?
Perfect.
Yeah,
Good
yeah.
candidates for the game. How much are we locking in? Joe, text it to me and Riley text it to me as well. And then I'll get Albanese to text me his and I'll get Dutton to fling his through as well.
Wow, eh?
You can take that mask off, Ledge.
Mask
Are they
shit,
cagged or are they free range?
Yeah.
I can-
12
I can
or
check.
Baker's doesn't it?
Bakers.
Baker's doesn't want
free
less.
range. They're free range. 12.
Oh, Pavo.
No, opposite.
Pavo!
Free range is
No,
good.
that's better.
Oh.
Caged is
Cagged is
not,
bad.
not
Oh.
ideal. All right, Joey's locked in his answer.
They wouldn't be $1 a pop, would they? Let me have a think. I don't know. They wouldn't be 50 cents a pop.
Just
Now you're just saying what they're not. I don't think you get the game.
the crazy thing is that they
got
have
no
whole
idea.
chickens that have lived alive for
Yeah.
$2 or whatever.
Yeah. It's a whole
absolutely.
different debate.
Roasting next door.
Okay, Joe has locked in $7. Riley has gone with $8.50.
Okay.
We're going to play the clip and let it play out for you. This is what our two other competitors said.
Mr. Dutton, do you know how much they cost?
About $4.20.
No, you might get half a dozen.
Mr. Albanese?
$7 if you can find them, because it's hard to find them at the moment.
Yeah, you're looking at, I reckon you're looking at 8 plus. No?
Yeah, there you go. It's the Sunny Queen 12 eggs from Woolies. They're $8.80 from Coles. They're slightly cheaper at about $8.50.
Out of touch.
Marginally out of touch to go $4.
420. Blaze out. What a guess.
So I think you won,
Yeah, I won.
Riley. So just want
I'm
to
the
know when
most
you're.
in touch.
Want to know when you're. Yeah, we know you've been touched. Just want to know when you're going up for the.
The mask debate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Next year.
soon.
That's
yeah,
exciting.
soon. Me and Dutton are going to have a mask debate.
Huge. Congratulations. It's nice to see the big wigs are playing our games.
Yeah.
Number
Do they
two.
do whistle game?
That was the next question.
Yeah.
What is the Telstra ad song?
Oh, that's a good one.
Number two on our agenda here. We've only got 3 items that I want to go through. Number two, it's a bit of a sad one. It took place today. I don't know if you saw Junior Boy. It came up in episode 227 of the podcast. And it is one of the few people here on the podcast who have been, as we mentioned at the time, double crowned with Everyday Heroes.
Yeah.
Anthony Edwards.
Oh, and yeah.
Can you remember what you gave Anthony Edwards his hero for in episode 227?
The little kid. He
The
wore
little-
his wristband.
Correct.
It
The
was
little
like the
kid-
kid who was sick.
Correct. The little kid named Luca
Yeah.
was sick. I do notice now that it sounds like it's taking a path. It's not taking as hectic a path as it may have initially.
Yeah.
Luca, the kid,
Yeah.
he had cancer. I think he still... Anyway, I think he might still have cancer. I did not mean for that to be...
Yeah, you
Okay.
still might be sick.
Yeah, I think he's still sick. Anyway, Luca gave Ant a wristband
Yeah.
and Ant promised he was going to wear the wristband
Forever.
for the rest of his career.
Yeah.
Today, LeBron and Anthony Edwards played off in game 4 of the playoffs. And this is what happened.
Oh.
Ball is loose on the floor. Anthony Edwards goes down. LeBron, unfortunately, gets a
LeBron the GOAT.
finger into the wristband. Wristband goes flying.
Oh, the wristband broke off his wrist.
Wristband is off his
And did his
wrist.
ACL.
It did look a bit hectic at the end.
That's so good. I thought
The wristband is... He's still got it on, but it is now broken.
Luca, get cooking again. It had something written on it, didn't it?
Yeah, it had like live, life, love or something along those
Yeah.
lines.
it's pretty cool that he's made that and now LeBron has touched it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool that it's been on Anthony.
Yeah, that was a
Edwards
great
for
story.
fucking 3
I
months.
thought the kid may have passed away.
I didn't- no, I didn't-
was
yeah,
really
that-
I was really like, oh, this is a fucking damn.
That only dawned on me about halfway through telling the story. That we're coming in with
Yeah.
quite a somber tone.
Yeah,
but
when you said had cancer, I was like, oh, that's never good. Well, Sometimes it is, I guess.
It's good if you know
If you
longer.
beat it, yeah. But then I was thinking, oh, now he just stopped wearing the bracelet. Like,
No.
Yeah, right.
So
I was like,
still
geez,
wearing
this
the
is rough.
bracelet.
But it was an
But
accident.
it is a bit sad that the bracelet, as of today, has been broken. So stay tuned over the news regarding the new bracelet. You
That's
mentioned at the
huge.
time all of his teammates had bracelets given to them as well. So maybe they'll just do a bit of a pass the parcel.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah.
one of the role players or the bench players will
yeah.
hand him his.
yeah.
Hope so. That's cool. Good on you, Ant.
Okay, and lastly, we're doing the MacPack performance review. Keep flying them through.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I've got one that I want to read out. This one's pretty funny. We're not going to read out too many because it took a little while. What do you love about the MacPack podcast?
Where can you access this link to fill out this form?
Head
Jake?
into the link in our link in bio. It's in our link in bio.
Or in the
Performance
show
review.
notes.
Or in the show notes. Jump in, let us know what you think about the podcast, and feel free to have a little dig like this legend has. What do you love about the MacPack? This person has replied, when Joe talks about money and how rich he is.
Must be
Yes.
very
Which we
nice.
haven't done in a while.
Yeah, Joe's
No.
common man.
Because of cost of living, I've been laying low.
Joe also guessed nearly the lowest amount for the eggs as well.
yeah,
which
it
is
was
well
you
out.
and Dutton down the bottom.
Yeah, just hanging out with the
Well,
chickens.
Me and Albo, the common man.
Common man, yeah.
What do you dislike about the MacPack? When Joe doesn't talk about how rich he is.
Okay, fair enough.
So he wants this to be more just about Joe's finances,
Yep.
or he or she. They're always anonymous.
Yeah.
One piece of honest feedback you'd give the boys: Joe should share his money with the
This
bros
person likes Joe a lot.
and treat them to Nobu or dinner.
Oh.
Novo. I don't even eat seafood. Why would I do that?
I heard a funny joke over the weekend. One of my mates told me it wasn't very funny, but he said it was going to be funny.
Yeah.
He said it was back when he had a girlfriend, and then she was like, "Why don't we do something nice and go out for dinner tonight? Why don't we go to Nobu?" And he replied, "Nobu."
Nice.
It sucked then and it sucked now.
There you
You
go.
replied very well.
Nice.
And lastly, roast the lads. All right, we're all friends here. Roast the lads, and
Here
we
we go.
might share
Wonder
these
who this will
on
be about.
air. Well, hilariously, it's not about you. It simply says, and we'll finish the
get your
show.
money up.
We'll finish the show on this, but it says Junior, and you can work out whatever you want about this
Okay.
statement. But it says Junior looks like a paintbrush. So
Oh, wow.
not really sure what that
I don't
means.
know.
But ever since I read it, I haven't seen you in the same light.
There I am.
Paintbrushing around.
Paintbrush.
Paintbrush. I like to see myself as one of the rollers.
Yeah.
Very versatile. Get the job done quick.
Yeah.
Quick and effective.
I'm not sure, like paintbrush.
Oh, nice. I wonder who that was. We'll never know.
We'll never know.
We'll never know. That's the whole point of it being anonymous.
There you go.
Love it, boys. Until we do this time next week, stay safe, stay blessed, and always remember to.
Go give your mum a hug.
It's ciao for now. Bye now.